Hey, welcome back. Let's talk about narrative writing. And today we are going to take a look at where we are in our writing process. So, if you'll remember, first we started with brainstorming, and that's where you're like thinking up ideas for your story. So, we had the brainstorm strategy of first times, last times, and times things change. And then we also had the brainstorming strategy of trouble. And then we have like the trouble starts, which is like the problem, the trouble gets worse, and then the solution. And so we've got trouble stories, and we also thought about real life problems. We were making up stories based on things that really have happened in your life so that you've got ideas to make up a problem for your character. After we brainstorm, then we did planning, and you can see there's two different ideas of like a story map here, and we all made our story map. So here's mine for the story that I'm working on. You guys should have all had your story maps because we worked on them together. After planning, we drafted, and this is what we did on Wednesday, and some of you took a couple extra days to get that done, but everybody by now should have a draft, which means that today we are ready to move into this next step, which is called revising. Revising is like where the magic happens in your story. Revising is where we go back into our stories that we've drafted, the stories that we've written, and we find ways to make them better. Nobody's story is great the first time, so if you're thinking, I don't need to revise, my story's already great, trust me, this is what great authors do, and this is what fifth graders do. This is a big step where we learn how to go into our stories and make them way better. So today we're going to work on the strategy of retelling bit by bit. We're going to take the important parts of our story and tell them bit by bit. So let's go into that strategy. Let's jump past the stuff we've already done. All right. So here we are. We're going to revise our stories by telling the important parts bit by bit. And some of you might know it by this word I've got right here, elaboration. Elaboration is when you go back and add more details to make things more clear. So that's really what I want you to be kind of keeping in the back of your mind as we work through our revision. Where can I add details to make my story better? So last week we talked about you wrote a whole story. So you drafted, you've got a whole typed story. But you might notice it has all the parts of a story because we built it on our story map. But maybe it's not super exciting yet. You might notice you don't yet have a lot of details. Or you might notice my story is still pretty short. Some of you might say, I've got tons of details and my story is not short. So even if you are thinking, nope, I've got those things, hear me out because this is going to make your story better. But for most of us, this is what we're noticing about our stories. They're not quite there yet. So today we are going to use a strategy where you are going to first find a spot to revise. So you're always going to look for something that should be really exciting or important. In my story, I'm going to look especially at my problem. Did I make my problem really exciting when my character gets into trouble? And did I make the solution exciting? Those are the two biggest parts of my story. If those are already exciting, I might go back and look at like those oh no moments. Those should also be exciting. After I find a spot that's really exciting, I'm going to imagine. I'm going to pause and close my eyes even and picture it like a movie in my head. If I can picture it, then I can make it amazing. All right, the last thing I'm going to do is to go back and rewrite the section that I want to fix. So I'm going to find a section to fix, imagine it like a story, and then rewrite it by writing out what I imagined. All right, so here is the story that I wrote, and when I was looking through it, I thought it is kind of long, so I'm not so worried about whether or not mine is long enough. Some of you might also be worried about how long, but I thought, oh, mine might be long enough. But then I went back and I looked at the problem. So if you remember, my story is about a kid named Marcus, and I added some little details to show that he's smart, like he has some architecture books in his room, and things like that to show that he's smart. And then here is my problem. I'm going to share that part with you. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just because I want you to have time to work on your stuff. But here's my problem. So Marcus went downstairs and got his dad's phone. He turned to take it into his room to look up the shaving cream, because he's going to do a shaving cream prank, because he didn't want his dad to see him and wonder what he was up to. As he went back up to his room, he tripped and dropped the phone. The screen was cracked. Marcus would be in huge trouble. So here's where the problem happens. As he went back up to his room, he tripped and dropped the phone. The screen was cracked. Marcus would be in huge trouble. That's the problem, and it's only 3 sentences, and they're not even 3 exciting sentences. So I'm going to highlight that. I did the first step. I found the thing I wanted to fix. The next thing I need to do is picture it in my head like a movie. What do I want to have happen? So then I closed my eyes and I thought, how do I want this to happen? I know. I want Marcus is going to go running back up the stairs with the phone, and he's going to be fumbling to unlock it so he can look up the price of shaving cream, and he's going to trip, and the phone will go flying out of his hands. I kind of want it to go flying in slow motion, and watch it. Maybe it's going to tumble end over end. I can really describe that. And hit the stairs and then roll all the way back down to the bottom with a thud. I want it to be dramatic. And then Marcus will rush to the phone and pick it up and think, oh no, please don't be broken, please don't be broken. And when he looks at it, there's going to be a huge crack right down the middle. That's what I pictured in my head. But when I look at my story, I can see that that's not what I wrote at all. So I'm going to click over here to the side, and I'm going to start typing all the things that I imagined. I'm going to pause the video real quick while I type, and then I'll jump back in with my finished typing. All right, welcome back. So I took a few minutes, probably took me about 5 minutes, and I wrote out what I imagined. So my old story says, as he went back up to his room, he tripped and dropped the phone. The screen was cracked. Marcus would be in huge trouble. And then I pictured it in my head like a movie. I imagined it. And then I wrote what I saw. Marcus started back up the stairs with the phone. He looked down and started unlocking the phone, but he wasn't paying attention, and his big toe caught on the edge of the stairs. As he tripped, the phone flew out of his hand and tumbled end over end. It hit the top stair and tumbled all the way back down, hitting the floor at the bottom with a loud thunk. Oh no, thought Marcus. Please don't be broken. Please don't be broken. He rushed down the stairs and scooped the phone up. He turned it over and realized that there was an enormous crack running right down the middle of the screen. Marcus knew he would be in huge trouble. So now I can see that this is way better than what I had before. So I'm going to grab what I had before, make sure just that's highlighted, and delete that. And now I'm going to grab the new thing that I wrote, and I'm going to copy it and paste it in. This is where I left off. Whoa, my story just got way longer. So now I can take out the part that wasn't very good and put in the part that's really good. So this is what I'm going to challenge you guys to start thinking about how you can do that in your writing. Remember the 3 steps. First, you got to find a spot you want to fix. Look for things that are really exciting or should be exciting and important, but don't feel that way yet. Imagine it. Picture it like a movie in your head, and then rewrite that part. Tell yourself, I'm going to put in as much detail, and I'm going to write it step by step so that my reader can see all the things I want them to see. This is our first strategy, revising bit by bit.